Hello, everyone. Welcome to the EdTech Smackdown. At the end, we will share all of our slides and place them also on the Innovation Conference website. All right, welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to see everyone as you are joining us over on YouTube. Join us in the chat. Join us on our PLSD, hashtag PLSD Proud on Twitter. Happy to have all of you join us. I want to thank Abed, my co-host, for helping me out with StreamYard and keeping everything going. So appreciate that. So can you tell me, Abed is all the way joining us from London. What time is it all the way over there?
Hi, Angie. Yes, it is just approaching 4 o'clock or just past 4 o'clock in the afternoon here in London.
At least it's not 4 a.m.
Yeah, no, at least it's not 4 a.m. I have been known to do 4 a.m. streams, though. Probably not the finest hour to do streams, but yes.
Well, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Out of curiosity, what is your schooling doing in London? Are you guys virtual, hybrid, all in? So, what are you guys doing?
We are fully virtual at the moment because the whole of the UK has gone into lockdown version 3.0. So we are fully remote learning everywhere in the UK. It's brought up. It's a lot better this time around than it was the first time around when kind of almost no one knew what they were sort of doing. We were a bit more prepared for it this time, having returned back to school after the last lockdown last September, and then now we kind of have a remote learning strategy. But I think the biggest draw has been devices and getting devices into the hands of students that need them. So it's been tough, but we're plodding along, and hopefully we'll all be back to normal at some point in 2021.
Sounds good. Well, thank you for joining us. All right, so today in our EdTech Smackdown, everyone will have 5 minutes. It's a little bit different from the WWE, I think it's called nowadays. We will not have all the blood, sweat, and drama, but we will have tag outs and lots of presenters coming in and out. So if you could jump on into that chat, here is a list of our presenters for today. Take a few moments, take a look at the sessions. Let me know, what ones are you most excited about learning about? Join that chat. Show us what you've got. I'm super excited about all of them. We have presenters from all over the world. We have some of our own awesome presenters here from Pickerington. It's going to be super exciting. I cannot wait to hear all the presentations. We will make the slides available to everyone later. I see a couple things in the chat asking about that. We will share the bit.ly at the end, and we will also place them on the Innovation Conference website. Oh, I see people are excited about the Seesaw tips and tricks. They're excited about the music. People's excited to hear from Kristen, our own from within Pickerington. Oh, folders, that'll be exciting. Keep them coming, guys. What are you super excited to hear about today? All right, our very first person coming up is going to be Kimber. Kimber serves as the Director of Educational Technology at Concept Schools. She has worked internationally, has served as the Director of Technology at the K-8 school, specializing in students with learning differences, and has taught multiple subjects in grade levels K-12. She has her MED in Learning Design and Leadership and is a Google Certified Educator and Trainer. She loves working with students and educators to integrate technology into teaching and learning, and believes technology can be life-changing for students as it allows them to both access knowledge and share their ideas. Kimber, tell us, where are you presenting from today?
So I'm just outside of Chicago today. It's a beautiful sunny day after a snowy night last night.
Thanks for joining us. I'm going to let you take it away.
All right. Well, we can go to the next slide. So I love stop motion animation in general. I do stop motion in Google Slides a lot for students who are a little older who are using Google Classroom. And so I was so excited about some of the updates that Seesaw made over the summer that make it possible to truly do stop motion animation with my students in Seesaw. And for me, every project that I do with my students is fundamentally to do with the writing process. So I like to start with this somebody wanted but so then graphic organizer to help students tell their stories and get organized first. So somebody, who's your story going to be about? Wanted, what are they trying to achieve, or what are they hoping to do? But what's the obstacle? So what do they do about it? Then how does it all turn out? And this is really easy to customize based on your grade level or your student needs. With littles, it might just be 1 or 2 words for your somebody wanted but so then. With your older students, that might be a couple of sentences or a whole paragraph in each of those boxes. And then to help students then shift from the written to the visual, I just want them to sketch a little picture kind of summing up what the action of their story is going to be. Just one quick sketch. Next slide. And then we can get into the animation itself. So part 1 is for students to set the scene. So on the first slide of what's going to be their animation, they'll go ahead and do their backdrop and create all of their elements. One thing to know is that in Seesaw, if students create something with a draw tool, that pencil or marker tool, they can't then move it. They would have to erase it and redraw it on every slide. So the shapes tool is really great for creating elements, or the emoji keyboard is beautiful for this. Students can draw on paper, so they could do a character on paper and take a photo of it, but it's going to have that background around it. And particularly with littles, we're not necessarily going to get into sending them to a website like remove.bg to remove backgrounds and things like that. But older students certainly can use that, or search the web for images that are transparent and then copy and paste them into their slides. But for the littles, what I love about it is that you can do this completely self-contained, just with shapes and that emoji keyboard. Once they have that first slide set, we can go to the next slide. You're going to then introduce your students to some of what I consider to be like the level 2 elements of creating in Seesaw. They're going to click the 3 dots on that first slide and duplicate it. Then they're going to move all of their characters and elements a tiny bit. Wash, rinse, repeat. Let's go to the next slide. So the deal is Seesaw allows a maximum of 20 pages in a project. My template, I have all of the instructions and examples in, so students actually only have about 14 slides to create. But students can do a maximum of 19 pages for their actual slide-by-slide animation, because they need to leave 1 page left over for their combined video. So students are going to take advantage of that multi-page screencast tool. Once they have all of their images step by step, they'll go back to page 1, click that microphone icon, and then they'll just page through every page in, click done, and that recording will be packaged into a separate page at the top of their project, and they'll have a true stop motion animation project ready to go. Next slide. I love this for so many applications. I love for students to do original narratives. I also like for them to retell a story, do an alternate ending. For social studies, it's great for summarizing events, showing cause and effect. That's really terrific for science if you want them to do kind of a stop motion water cycle, for example. And then again, for those older students or students who want to go above and beyond, you can extend this, because if you've done any stop motion animation, you know that it takes a lot of pages to make a thing happen, right? So for longer, more in-depth stories or sort of multi-page elements, you can create across multiple responses or activities. And then I love that get student link, so I can make one activity as my master activity and then link into scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, one scene, per response. So Amanda, go ahead. And I do have a link to an example. Next slide. So I have made an activity, and that link will take you right there. So I have a whole little video and explanation to go along with it. And you guys, I mean, I hope you use it. It's so much fun to do with your kids. You can do this all the way down into kindergarten. And I do stop motion animation all the way up into high school. Seesaw makes it so easy to not have to use any outside apps. You don't have to send your kids off the platform at all. All right, well, I think I'm done, and we're on to the next Smackdown.
We are. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time, Julia. Can't wait to try that stop animation. All right, Julia is our next up, but before we try that, got a question here for you. If you join us in the chat, tell us, why are there 13 in a baker's dozen? So jump on that Google chat, or I'm sorry, the YouTube chat, and tell us, why are there 13 in a baker's dozen? I'll give you a few seconds here to answer. Why are there 13 in a baker's dozen? Because we've got, well, we did have 13 presenters, but we decided to squeak in one more. You know, that extra special when you get 13 instead of just 12. Today we're going to be super extra special, and we're going to give you 14. So bakers were found to be cheating their customers by overpricing undersized loaves of bread. So they were subject to strict punishment, including fines and flogging. So now they were then required to give everybody 13 in their baker's dozen. All right, next up, we have Julia. She's going to be sharing with us how to create your own GIFs using Google Slides. Julia is a technology learning and innovation coach with the Sheboygan Area School District. She provides professional development for teachers surrounding various technology tools and programs. As a coach, her goal is to provide best practices for technology integration to the teachers, including one-on-one coaching, small group professional development sessions, large group professional development sessions, virtual professional development, asynchronous, and modeling technology instruction with students. She works with teachers pre-K through 12. Prior to her work as a technology coach, she was a 4th grade teacher. She is a proud Google certified trainer, Seesaw ambassador, and Donors Choose ambassador. Julia, thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, Angie.
Hi, tell us, where are you presenting from today?
So I am presenting from Wisconsin. I am in Sheboygan, so right along Lake Michigan.
Awesome, I'm gonna let you take it away.
Awesome, we can go to the next slide. So yes, I'm going to be talking to you about how to create your own GIFs using Google Slides. This is something that I absolutely love doing. And why? Well, I think it's a great way to be able to engage your students. You can even use it to spice up your digital classroom. And it's just a fun way to have fun, maybe even with your colleagues. Next slide, please. So where are some places in your classroom that you can use GIFs? I really like to use it. If you're a Google Classroom user, you can actually put a GIF as your classroom banner. So you'll notice I have an example down there below. I created my digital classroom, and then I have some movement in there. Another really great place is if you have an email signature that you would like to present something, like any certifications that you have, or maybe it's just something fun for the season that you want to share with your colleagues. That's another great place where you can put your own GIF. And then the last place would be obviously presentations similar to like this. Next slide, please. So how to create your own GIFs. So I have these step-by-step instructions. I'll go through them real quickly with you, but then you can use these and take them to help hopefully create your own. So the first step, again, we're using Google Slides. So you're going to use Google Slides to create movement. Just like our previous presenter, you're going to want to adjust slightly as we're going through. So think like an old-fashioned flip book, right? You're going to create your background, your image, whatever you would like. And then I suggest just making copies of that, right? So get your layout and background set, and then we're going to make those copies. You can have as many copies as you would like. So if you would like a longer animation, you can have more slides. Or if you want a shorter animation, maybe you only have 5 or 6. My tech tip for this is use the Resize feature in Google Slides before you start creating your GIF. So just like how I mentioned you could use it as a classroom banner or an email signature, well, you notice my classroom banner, it was a longer image, right? We wanted that longer image so that when we upload it, it fits perfectly. Well, my email signature was more of a square. So use that Resize tool in Google Slides to get it how you would like before you start creating that. And you can do that by going to File, Page Setup, Custom, and then Apply once you've picked your layout. Next slide. So step number 2 is once you have your animation created in Google Slides, you are going to be using tall tweets, and you can use the classic option and just sign in with Google. This is a free website that will take your Google presentation, your Google Slides, and then turn it into a GIF. Next slide, please. So once you are on Tall Tweets, again, select that classic. And once you log in with Google, what it does is it connects to your Google account, and then you are able to select your presentation. So you would click on that button. You would find whatever Google slide that you used for it, and then select it, and then it's going to give us some options to customize. Next slide, please. So once you have your presentation selected, here's where on the website you are going to be able to, like I said, customize your GIF. So there is that width option right at the top. Again, I would only do this if you didn't adjust your slide layout. So if you already did that and you changed your adjustments within Google Slides, you can totally skip that step. The next one is important. It's slide duration. And this is going to be how long do you want your slide to be visible before it goes to the next one. I would say 1 second or less if you're going to be using animation. Sometimes even 1 second is a little bit too long depending on how many you have in there. So you can even go to ½ a second or 3/4 of a second, whatever you see is best. And then the last option that you have to customize is your sequence. So maybe you want to have it go through your slides quickly with the exception of maybe the last one. Well, you can include your slide twice if you would like so that it stays slightly longer on that image. And what it's just going to do is it's going to pull from your Google Slides. So you just use the numbers that you have in your slide deck, and then you can just type them in there, separating with commas. Next slide, please. So once you have all that done, really easy. All you have to do is hit create the GIF, and then it will allow you to either save it or tweet it out. And it's going to look like that on the right-hand side. Again, there's that save tweet. You can even change it. You can adjust it if you don't like what it looks like. And then you can download it and upload it where you need. Next slide. So thanks.
So awesome. So now here we go. Once again, we have a question up here for you guys, and I'm probably really going to butcher how you say this, but what is frigatriskaidekaphobia? Frigatriskaidekaphobia. What is that? So go on over to that YouTube chat. Tell us, what do you think that is? What is frigatriskaidekaphobia? What do you think it is? I'll give you a few seconds here to fill that in while we get our next person ready to go. All right, in case you didn't know, that is the fear of Friday the 13th. Next up, we have Nikki is joining us. Thanks, Nikki. She is the let me try that again. Nikki is the District Technology Facilitator and STEAM Express Director for Livingston Parish Public Schools in Louisiana. Yes. She's a Google Certified Educator, Trainer, and Innovator. She is going to talk to us today about making custom sticky notes. Nikki, I can't wait to hear about it.
Hey guys, I'm so excited to be here. Here in Louisiana, we are actually back face-to-face. We have been face-to-face since August. So these sticky notes can be used in face-to-face, or it can actually even be a personal thing. So I will be talking to you guys about how to make custom sticky notes. And I have found so many uses for these. We're going to have a blast. So go ahead and go to the next slide for me, please. On here, the whole thing of why would I want to use sticky notes? Here's a whole bunch of reasons. The first one, rubrics. I have used tons of sticky notes for rubrics because it's so easy to print out a rubric, slap it on a kid's paper, and then be able to fill it out. You're saving paper, you're saving time and effort. There's warning notes and documentation. You can have pre-printed sticky notes that say, you're not paying attention. Please, focus. And then they can sign it and turn it back in, and you've got documentation that they've been warned. It can be used for encouragement, or in this case, I've got a picture of our Control-Alt-Achieve books that we're giving out to some of our teachers. We've got book study and annotations, and if you click on the slide afterwards, you can get a copy of those here too. You can make reminders and to-do lists. There's checklists for your students. You can do due dates, math bars. There's all kinds of stuff. As an English teacher, I like the editing marks. You slap that on top of a rubric and the kids can kind of use that to go back and forth. So there are a lot of reasons to use these, and there are a lot that are already made, and the links are right there for you. So feel free to click on those when you get the presentation in your hands. Next slide. So it's super easy to make your own. The first step is that you have to measure your sticky notes because not all sticky notes are created equally. Most of them are 3 inches by 3 inches. And so that's the sample that I'm going to use. And that's the size of the templates that you're going to find. Next step. So for step 2, we're going to do this in Google Slides. You're going to set up your base Google slide and you're going to make it a typical page size. So when you print it, it's easy peasy. So 8.5 by 11. You're going to insert a square shape. Then you're going to go under those format options and make sure that they are the correct measurements. Here you see that I have it set up for 3 by 3. But if you do one of the smaller ones or you have a weird oblong shaped one, make sure you use it, you measure it out and you put in the correct ones. So then what you're going to do is you're going to put as many as you can on a piece of paper, and then you're going to print that page. Then you're going to take your sticky notes and slap them where they belong. Next slide. So then here's a little tip. You Control-D, duplicate that first slide. And then on that second slide, you design each shape with what you want the sticky note text to look like. Now remember, your sticky notes are colored. So stick to black and white or dark gray. There's no need to do added color. It'll save you some printer. Then design your sticky note, copy and paste, make it as many as you can. Then you're going to take that piece of paper that had all the sticky notes slapped on there and put it in the printer. Make sure you read to make sure that it's facing the correct direction, up or down, right, left, because you want to make sure it prints smoothly the first time. And then you're going to print that page only. Next step. Actually, that's it. That's how you do it. It's super simple. I use them all the time. Here are some tips for doing that correctly. You want to continue duplicating that first page so you keep it all in the same Google slide. That way, you have a huge cache of templates that you've created and that are useful to you. So you can always revisit and don't have to keep recreating or finding the different files. Keep them all in one Google slide. Next, work smarter, not harder. Before you take the time to build something, see what's out there. I linked to, I believe Tony Vincent has a ton and they are good. Like I started to make my own, was like, why am I doing this? He's already got some really good ones. So see what's out there. When you create your template, make sure you give yourself a little space around the edges because sometimes the paper may shift a millimeter and you don't want to have, all this space on the sides where you're constantly reprinting. Give yourself a little bit of space on the edges. Also, you can color code your sticky notes so you know that all the pink ones are the ones that say, I agree, or, The 3 important point ones are green, or warning notes are yellow. So there's a lot of fun that you can have with the sticky notes. And that's it. That's how you make customized sticky notes. I think you will enjoy them. I think your students will enjoy them, and you'll get a lot of use out of them. And we're done. We're on for the next question. Someone left these for me in my office. They're a little rainbow and they have a cute border. Make sure you go in and when you have your square, make that border transparent so you don't have to worry about lining up lines. That also is helpful.
Awesome. Thanks, Nikki. I can't wait to make my own sticky notes. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Here we go. Our next question. There is something called the 13 Club. Anybody know what is the 13 Club? What is that 13 Club as we are pulling up our next presenter? All right, so the 13 Club, put in that chat. Tell me what you think it is. The 13 Club is the members dined regularly on the 13th day of the month. They met in room 13 of the Knickerbocker Cottage, and they had a 13-course dinner. I don't know about you, but I think I'd be a little full after that 13-course dinner. Our next up is Kristen. She is our very own from Pickerington Schools. So Kristen is our K-4 technology teacher at Pickerington Schools. Kristen has been a Seesaw ambassador for 2 years, has her master's in technology, and this is her 16th year teaching and her 4th year as a technology teacher. Kristen's going to be talking about why reinvent the wheel, teachers and authors to follow on Seesaw. Kristen, how are you this morning?
I'm great. I'm a little nervous, but I'm ready to share. Hopefully people get some good stuff from this today. I know I'm already getting some great tips and tidbits as we're going this morning.
Awesome. Can't wait to hear more. Take it away.
All right. If you want to go on to the next slide for me. I am known for saying a lot, why recreate the wheel, and also work smarter, not harder. Technology gives us a lot of opportunities to do that. So I have found some of my favorite ways to do that in Seesaw and wanted to share that with you this morning. So in Seesaw, we have our library. So to access the library, we know in our Seesaw classes, we click on the green plus sign and then choose Assign Activity. Now, when you do that originally, it's going to put you into your library. But up at the top, there's 3 tabs. There's your library. There's the school library, which, because we are Seesaw for Schools here at PLSD, that's where you can share things for the district. And then there's the community library. The community library is a public library with thousands of activities. They're created by the people at Seesaw, but they are also created by teachers. My favorite part about it, too, is the fact that only ambassadors can contribute to this public community library. So Seesaw kind of vets these and checks to make sure that the things that are being put in there are useful and acceptable to be in there. And you can do a search when you're in there, either by subject, by grade level, by subject and grade level, or you can even, on the right-hand side, do a search for specific topics, teacher, authors, standards, things that you need. All right, next slide. When you get into the library and you find an activity that you like, you're going to save that activity. So to save an activity, up at the top of it, right beside where you would click Assign is a heart. That's how you save those activities to your library. And then if you notice down at the bottom, when you open an activity, there's the little square with the 3 dots. If you click on those 3 dots, it pulls up a menu, and the one that we're really going to focus on is that copy and edit activity. Most of the activities in Seesaw, you can copy and edit it to make it your own. So maybe you like a couple of slides from it, but there's a few that you need to tweak or delete. You can do that when you make a copy. You can change the directions. You can really customize the lessons to work for you and for your class. Next slide, please. So going along with that, I have some teachers that I want you to focus on that are some of my favorites to follow. Seesaw ambassadors have their own kind of page where they have all of their activities, and I'm going to share my top 5 for you today. Next slide, please. The first one is Sarah Mccall. I hope I'm saying her name right. She is a K-5 digital learning specialist, a Seesaw certified educator, and she's a former first grade teacher. Most of her activities are primarily focused for grades K-2, maybe K-3. Some of my favorites are her coding activities. As a tech teacher, you know mine have to be her coding activities, but they're really great. They go along with books and help kids connect that first, next, then last piece as well. She also has a really good find someone who for the beginning of the year. Next slide. My next person is Tracy Piltz, who is one of my personal favorite Seesaw ambassadors. She has led a couple of the things that I have followed along with in Seesaw, some of the trainings. She's a K-2 tech integration specialist, a Seesaw certified educator. To be a certified educator, that means that you've been an ambassador for 3+ years. So I should be a certified educator hopefully next year. And she's a former kindergarten teacher. She has over 100 activities in her stuff already for you to check out. Some of my favorite are her scavenger hunts and her magnetic alphabet. Because she's a former kindergarten teacher, I will tell you most of her stuff is kind of focused K-1, maybe K-2. Next slide. For my older elementary teachers, my upper level elementary teachers, 3rd, 4th grade, and maybe even into 5th grade, Jen Harding has over 100 activities as well. She's a 3rd grade teacher and a Seesaw ambassador. A lot of her things are math activities, or a lot that I have seen that I like of hers are geared towards math activities. Especially she has a multiplication dominoes that's really good and some rounding numbers activities that are great. Next slide. This is Coach Ben. Coach Ben is kind of quirky and corny, but as a kindergarten teacher, I think we kind of have to be. I'm a past kindergarten teacher, so I can say we when I say that, I think. He has some really great activities. His bingo board is a good one. Spin a Sound is another one that's really good. He has a lot of videos that he makes that go along into his activities, and he has over 200 activities in Seesaw. And then the last person that I want to share, if you want to go to the next slide, is Chris, and I'm going to butcher his last name. No, I'm not. It's Chris Shiner. I wrote it down so I would remember. It doesn't look like Shiner, but I swear that's what it is. If you get nothing else from this presentation, go follow Chris. He is a Seesaw guru. He used to be a kindergarten teacher, then he was a tech integrationist. Seesaw has seen how amazing he is, and he is now their partnerships manager. Chris has almost 300 activities already loaded in Seesaw. He also, in his Seesaw activities that he has loaded, he has templates. So you don't even have to delete the things that he's made. He has the template in there for you. And also, if you follow him on YouTube, he walks you through exactly what to do with those templates. He has all kinds of videos for you. So make sure that you check out Chris. And then if you want to hop to my last slide, the thing about all of these creators and all of their things, and something that kind of disappoints me a little bit, is Seesaw does not yet have a way for you to favorite a ambassador or a creator and their site. So I created an Excel spreadsheet where I put the links to those people so that I can find them easily. And I made one for you as well. So if you go to that bit.do Seesaw creators, it's an Excel spreadsheet that you can add even more people. If you have someone that you follow that you think's awesome, you can add to that. And the links to all of the creators that I have are, or that I've shared today, are in there for you. For even more inspiration and resources, make sure to search for Seesaw Teachers on Facebook and look for these creators on Twitter and on YouTube as well. Most of them have YouTube pages and Twitter as well. And I think I've got all that tagged in there. All right, I know that was a whole spiel, but I think I'm done. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Kristen. Can't wait to follow those people. The best motto ever is beg, borrow, and steal. Why recreate that wheel? All right. Thanks, Kristen. So as we are moving on to our next presenter, over in that YouTube chat, tell me, do high-rise buildings really have a 13th floor? Do those high-rise buildings really have that 13th floor? As we bring Katie onto the scene here.
Hi.
Hi, Katie.
How are you, Angie?
I'm good. How are you?
Hanging in there. My students are right now with buddies, so I was able to sneak away to make this presentation.
Awesome. We so appreciate your time. So if you didn't know, 80% of high-rise buildings in the United States do not have a 13th floor. Who knew? Some do, some do not. So Katie is a second and third grade multi-age teacher at Wycliffe Progressive Elementary and Upper Arlington City Schools. She is also an iCoach and Seesaw lead for her building. This is Katie's 18th year of teaching in Central Ohio. She is passionate about progressive education and authentically integrating technology into learning experiences. Katie is a nationally board certified teacher, Apple Learning Academy specialist, and a Seesaw certified educator. Katie, I'm so excited to see all your Seesaw tips and tricks as you join us from Upper Arlington.
Thank you, Angie. Well, I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you for having me. Hi, everybody. I hope you have been learning a lot today. I've been able to hear a few of the sessions, and all the presenters have been amazing. So thank you. We're going to, when I was asked to do tips and tricks, I was thinking, okay, how am I going to do this? And I'm like, okay, top 10 list. And if there's time, then I have a whole page of other tips and tricks. So here we go. Next slide, please. Number one, I know that Pickerington is hybrid, and I think you call your groups A and B. So a really easy thing to do is to go in and put the letter A or B after each student's display name. So I have a picture here that shows you how to get into that for each student. It makes it really easy. So as you're going through and assigning work or checking students' work, then you can just see, oh, they're in group A, and you don't have to remember it. Just take that off your mind. Next slide, please. Number two, this is a big one. Have the kids put a picture of themselves, especially if you're teaching younger kiddos like K and 1 who have a hard time reading friends' names. Have them go in, have students go in and change their picture. They can easily do that on the slide. It shows where they're going to click on the settings. They can go to account settings, click on their name. You can see here it shows, and I used my daughter's account to show how she could change her picture and then also her display name. My daughter's name is Josephine. She never goes by Josephine unless she's in trouble. She only goes by Josie. So she wanted to have her name different. So she changed her display name to Josie. I know many of our students go by a different name, and it's nice to have that preferred name there. Next slide, please. Number three. This is one of my favorite, what I love about Seesaw. I'm very passionate about Seesaw. And Seesaw is a documentation tool. It is meant to document learning. Have kids document. Have them document their learning. So as they're creating with their hands, with paper, with paint, with markers and clay, outside, inside, wherever, have them document their learning. Have them take pictures of their learning. Here I put two different examples where students were documenting. There's so much power in video. There's so much power in audio recordings. Students love explaining their thinking. One of my favorite things is to have them create something, maybe a story that they've read, have them upload it into Seesaw, and then have them record themselves reading it. Or another way we do it with poems is taking a picture of a poem, uploading it to Seesaw, record themselves reading it, illustrate it, share it out. It's really a powerful tool. Document, document, document. Next slide, please. Number four. For many of you who are just starting to use Seesaw, you might be a little overwhelmed by all of the various tools. When I started using Seesaw 5 or 6 years ago, They had very simple tools, and now the tools have really expanded to an amazing amount, which is just phenomenal. This was a quote from Seesaw's site. I love all of the tools. Next slide, please. This is a great image that explains the different tools that there are in Seesaw. So this is their create. This is their creation, their canvas, their creative canvas, so to speak. And you can see all of the various tools, especially if you're just getting into using Seesaw, or if you used it, if you've been using it for a while. These images really help. Sharing the slide with families, so when students are at home, can also be helpful. Sharing it with your class and showing them, look at these different tools. This is how you can change things. And remember, it's a 20-page limit, which is a phenomenal tool. Next slide, please. When you're making your lessons, your activities, here are some icon shortcuts. So instead of just having words, insert the pictures. It's pretty easy, and it really helps. So this is an icon shortcut list that I keep near my laptop as I'm working and designing activities. Next slide, please. Number 5, App Smash. Seesaw is amazing and plays so well with so many different apps. So there are 2 links on here. That one goes to the list of apps it works with, and then with Chromebooks in Pickerington, these are different creation apps you can easily use with Chromebooks. My students create in Book Creator. They make ebooks, and then they can easily export those and upload those to Seesaw, which then shares those. They create in Google Drive, and you can easily upload those as well. We use Scholastic, and so I can easily insert a link into any slide, which will take them to the Scholastic website where they can do the work. App Smash, do more with working less. Make it easier. Next slide, please. Okay, one of my favorite things to do is read aloud. The read aloud has so much power to it. And there's a limit to how long you can record things in Seesaw. So here's my hack, here's my suggestion. Record in a different application. So we're an Apple district, so we use Voice Memo. But there are other tools that you can use for voice recording depending on your device. Then upload that link, upload your recording to your Google Drive, adjust that link to shareable, and paste it into your Seesaw. So you can see here, this is an example of my schedule that I make in Google Slides and then link into Seesaw. And then there's also this link. So I have an ongoing document with all of my read aloud links. Currently, we're reading Land of Stories. If you haven't read that, it's a phenomenal book. Children of all ages love it. And it's not just, oh, girls do fairy tales. It's also has prominent male characters in it. So it appeals to all students. So yes, recording your read alouds. Next slide, please. Okay, here is one of my favorite new features on Seesaw that came out this fall is the calendar view. I'm sure many of you are overwhelmed with the number of activities, and that number keeps climbing. I think my number right now is probably around 160. I just haven't gotten to all of my reviewing and checking. So the easiest thing to do is check by using the calendar. So all you need to do is when you log into Seesaw, press the activities and then choose the calendar option. And it will organize the activities by the date you assigned them. So then I can click on the date, and then you can see here how it drops down and it shows you the activity. So I can look at one activity and I can look at all of the posts for one activity, and I can choose to approve them or not approve them. Or I can look at each individual one and approve and not approve. It makes it so much easier. I also really recommend students doing it this way so they can look at what activities for a day they've missed, especially if they were absent or were home for quarantine. Next slide, please. Students love comments. They want feedback. I don't know about the rest of you teachers, but I have no time. And so by doing that, it's really easy to do audio comments. So you can go into a student's work and you can press post comment. You can press little comment bubble, and then you press the record button, and you can record yourself giving an audio comment. Now, I don't mean voice to text. You can do that too, but I mean an audio comment. So you can say, Josie, you did a great job with your math assignment today, but remember, you need to show your work. Please go back and show your work use audio comments. It's a great feature to give meaningful feedback to students. This is really powerful, especially for our younger kiddos who don't necessarily or can't go back and read the comments that teachers type. Next slide, please. Number 9, send back feature, drafts. Use this. I have a video here that you can watch on your own time that really talks about the benefits and the power of having your students save things as drafts and then sending them back. So we were working on an animal project this fall, and students were working. And instead of turning it in, I said, save it as a draft. So then that way I can check their progress and see what they've done, but it doesn't necessarily get fully turned in. Also, sending back is a huge thing. When your students do work and you need to send it back, one suggestion I have is have a send back folder. So then that way you know exactly what you've sent back. I don't know about you, but sometimes I forget what I've sent back to students and they forget to check it. So I have a send back folder. So I just tag anything that I send back and put it into the send back folder. So I know exactly what I've sent back and what I haven't. Next slide, please. And lastly, stay connected. I loved in the last session where she spoke about all of the different Seesaw educators to follow. There are so many good ones out there. There are other ways for you to stay connected too. Join the Seesaw Facebook group. I'm in the Seesaw Ambassador group and Seesaw Certified Educator group. They're wonderful groups. Another thing, subscribe to the Seesaw YouTube channel. Great resources and how-to. And if you haven't become a Seesaw Pioneer yet, I really encourage you to do so. Thank you.
Katie, thank you so much for joining us. We can't wait to try all of those Seesaw tips and tricks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Angie. Have a great day, everybody.
You too. Bye-bye. So over in our chat, if you could please tell me how many Friday the 13th movies have been filmed. So join us. Tell us how many Friday the 13th movies have been filmed. As Eric is coming up, he is joining us. By the way, there have been 10. So Eric, could you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Hi, yes. I'm so thankful that you all had me. I love all these great Seesaw tips and seeing these other Seesaw ambassadors. It's wonderful. My name is Eric Robinson. I'm a second grade teacher. I've been teaching for 16 years in Chelsea, Michigan. I'm an Apple Distinguished Educator, and I'm a Seesaw Certified Educator as well. Besides my day job, I do work with Seesaw to deliver content and onboard teachers, and I do webinars for them as well. So absolutely love Seesaw. So what I'm going to talk about today is using folders to help organize work in Seesaw. And if you're like me, this point in the year, you have tons and tons and tons of things, and it's tougher to keep track of all those posts and keep track of what students are doing. Next slide, please. So folders, if you're not sure, if you have not used them before, they don't work like they would in Google Drive or on your desktop. They're not a folder where you like put things away. Instead, they do what's called tagging. They tag a post so that if you want to go back and find it later, it makes it easier to put all those type of posts together. So you can do this, right? You'll see the little pictures I shared on the slide where there's a little folder icon next to the class journal. There's also these folder icons next to each student. So you can search for maybe a reading folder in the entire class journal, or you can search for it just with one student. Next slide, please. So to create a folder, you can click on the wrench icon and go to your class settings, and there's an area to manage folders there. So from here, you can delete folders, you can edit them, or you can create them. Now, don't worry if you forget to do this, because at each step along the way, if you want to share or create a folder, pretty much everywhere in Seesaw does allow you to do this, whether it's before you're creating an activity or after you've created an activity. So it's really easy to do. Next slide, please. So after a student posts something to the journal or responds to an activity, you'll see a little folder icon down below that post. So you can add posts to a folder after they've been submitted. And this could be before you approve it or after. And this works great. But unfortunately, it's a lot of teacher time. And if you're expecting your students to add things to folders, I would say good luck with that. Even when I'm face-to-face with my students and I try to remind them to add things to folders, they usually will forget that step. So I'm going to show you a trick today to add to a folder before it's even posted as an assignment. Next slide, please. So I call this pre-tagging an activity to a folder, but when you have an activity that you're assigning to your students, you'll get to this screen right here, which is where you can select which class you want to assign your activity to. And then over on the right-hand side, it'll say Edit Students, Folders, and Skills. So this would be where I could first edit students and say, I only want this activity to go out to this certain group or this certain group of kids, or maybe only one child. But next to that is folders. So you can actually say, I also want this activity to go right into the reading folder. Or one that I love to use is for conferences. So if I'm doing assessments with students, I'll say I want this to go right into their fall conference folder. That way it's easy for me to pull it back up while I'm meeting with parents, and I'm not going through tons and tons of different activities to find it. All right, next slide, please. All right, so you'll see that after I've shared this activity with my students and assigned it, down below, it actually has it tagged as a reading assignment. So that's how I, as the teacher, know that it's automatically going to go into that folder. Now, when students respond, it will automatically go into that reading folder. But also on the student end of things, when they are looking at their to-dos, all their activities, they can click on the folders too and say, I only want to see my reading assignments from my teacher. So a lot of teachers are using these folders for, like, to say, this is the Monday folder, so that students can click on that Monday folder and only see the work in their feed for that day. If you are an art teacher or PE teacher or special education, if you are going in and out of classes and you're assigning work, you really, really, really want to make a folder for yourself. Because when you go into correct work or to what am I trying to say, to allow it or not, then you can actually do that right through your own folder instead of having to go through all the student work. Approve, that's what I was looking for, and approve everybody's work or look for just your students. So it's really easy to use them that way as well. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so like I said, when students respond, it will automatically go into that folder that you've assigned. And you can see right down on the bottom left of that post, it shows it's been put into that folder. You can also do multiple folders. So you could say, I want this to go into reading and fall conferences and. And so that way, no matter how you search for it, it will come up under that tag. So that's a nice little trick as well. All right, next folder. Our next slide, please. All right, so I do have a link here. I have a walkthrough video with all of it. So if you do better seeing a walkthrough step by step so you can follow along, I have a YouTube video right here for you that will take you through all the steps and how to do this. And that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. I can't wait to try out using all those folders.
You are welcome.
So as we are getting our next presenter ready, over in the chat on YouTube, tell me what musical star considers 13 to be her lucky number? What musical star considers 13 to be her lucky number? As Evan is about to join us here.
Good morning.
Good morning, Evan. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Evan is a technology innovator from Davenport, Iowa, who is Google for Education certified trainer. In addition to his work with teachers in Google, Evan is also a Flipgrid ambassador, a Wakelet ambassador, and a Ditch That textbook ambassador, having worked with and presented alongside with Matt Miller on various occasions. So really quick here before Evan takes over, Taylor Swift is the musical star who considers 13 to be her lucky number because she was born on December 13th. She turned 13 on Friday the 13th. Her first album went gold in 13 weeks, and she is the first #1 song. She had the first #1 song, had a 13-second introduction. So that is Taylor Swift. So Evan is here to tell us about going beyond the presentation, Google Slides as a template for amazing. Take it away, Evan.
Yeah, good morning. I feel kind of out of place following up all these excellent Seesaw presentations, but good morning, everybody. It's great to be here. So at ISTE and having worked with Matt for quite a bit, Google Slides is such an amazing tool that has definitely transformed the way I've presented lessons in class. Next slide. So the biggest question is, why Google Slides? Why are we even going that way? And as PC Bell loves to say, it's the Swiss Army knife of Google tools. And I couldn't agree more, just because there's so much you can do with it. So the big thing that we're going to talk about today is to be able to change the workspace size with a couple project ideas that I have for you this morning. You can design it just like Google Drawings if you're familiar with that. And I know Tony Vincent has been mentioned a lot. He's got some template sizes that I'll throw on Twitter. If you throw me a follow, I'll put that out just as soon as I finish up here. And you can link to additional slides, and then you can download several different types. And of course, you can collaborate. That's the best thing about all of the Google tools, is the ability to collaborate so easily. Next. So the very first thing to do, or the first project we'll talk about, is designing a Google Classroom banner. And both of these projects that we're going to talk about this morning is changing the workspace size and setting up Google Slides so you're able to work with them. So in order to do that, this is just a quick visual on going into the page setup and changing the size of the workspace from that standard 4:3 ratio and changing it to inches, pixels, or points, or whatever your project is calling for. Next. So for a Google Classroom banner, you want to change it to a 1600 by 400 pixels. So a little caveat with this: when you have students do this, make sure to change it to pixels first and then type in 1600 by 400. For some reason, if you type in 1600 by 400 and then change it from inches to pixels or whatever, Google doesn't like that. So just a little note there. Go ahead and click to the next one for me, Angie. So this is a project that I've done with my students, and it's so cool to see. Is once you change this pixel size to 1600, or I'm sorry, the workspace size to 1600 by 400 pixels, students are able to design it in any way they wish. So it brings up this really oblong rectangle looking thing. So students are able to change the background, they can add images, basically showcase their creativity by giving them a blank slate and letting them show what their favorites are, let them design. So then you can publish that to the web and then share with others. When I did this in my classroom, it was a computer applications class is when I used it. I also had a language arts class at the time. So I had students actually design our header for Google Classroom. So I would rotate those out every week or so. So the cool thing about that was students would come in, and it was so neat to see, hey, that's my banner. And then you've got 3 or 4 other people saying, wait a second, where's mine? And then it was like, well, yours was last week, and I've got so many others to come. It created a really cool, engaging thing where kids were actually excited to go check their Google Classroom, and hey, while you're there, do the work that's there. So it was a really cool thing. Go ahead and next slide. So based off of that, we started looking at different elements of design, and hey, go to use transparent images, and remove.bg is an excellent site. But we ended up taking it a step further, and there's a link here to a Google Classroom banner database. And these are all student created banners, and they have all different subjects that we designed, or the students designed, and they're all there free for the taking. You can view them, you can preview them, you can make a copy of them and customize them for your class, whatever you would like to do. But what I am so proud of with that database is that it's 110% student created. Next. So an interactive poster is another thing that we've done here at Sudlow, my intermediate school that I'm one of the schools that I support. And then you'll change that workspace to an 11 by 17. Next. So once you do that, if you want to use the collaboration fact or do kind of a modern day jigsaw project with it, you can assign each student a slide number, and then you allow them to design with shapes. And as you see there, I've got hex codes. So with our AVID program here in the intermediate school, they design posters on colleges that they would like to attend or just do a little more research on. So I have them go look up their marketing design. And so they are actually able to grab the specific hex code of that school and throw that into their poster. They can customize the frames. They can, with the secondary color of the hex code, they can create the background as the primary color. Really, really cool. Then they're able to download those as a PDF. We displayed them in our hallway. So an idea for that, go ahead and click to the next slide. So in our entryway, we were actually able to print those all out, and they had designs of colleges as people walked in. Really, really cool way to welcome people to the building. Another project we did was countries in social studies. They chose a country depending on what continent they were studying. That was an awesome idea. Our social studies teacher printed those out and hung them outside the hallway in his room. So it's that tangible piece of work that parents kind of miss when you're designing on Chromebooks or something like that. A couple other ideas I have there are chemical elements, famous authors, composers, bone muscle structures, maybe even a how-to guide. But just to make Google Slides and take that amazing piece, and maybe you can create your custom sticky notes on there or something. Really, really cool ways that you can use Google Slides. And there's a link there to some visual examples. So if you would like to do any of these, you have any more questions, go ahead and shoot me a tweet on Twitter, and I'm more than happy to share more about this. But really awesome project ideas, and it was so cool to see the engagement of all the students, even the most reluctant of learners.
Awesome, Evan. Thanks for all those ideas of how we can customize everything on Google Slides. Love anytime I can make it my own.
Thank you.
Thank you. So guys, over in the chat, after the 12 colonies are destroyed, Battlestar Galactica embarks on a mission to find what 13th colony? So next up, we have, hopefully I am not going to, let me see here if I can do two things at once. Okay, I'm going to try not to butcher your name. Is it Ugo?
Yes, correct. It's Ugo.
Oh, awesome. So I'm going to do one more quick thing here. The 12th colony, the 13th colony, I'm sorry, that was destroyed was Earth. So hopefully we are all still here. All right, so Ugo has his master's degree in computer engineering and an MCA in e-learning and computer learning, actually working as cybersecurity and computer science adjunct university professor all the way from Italy. Thanks so much for joining us. Tell us all about this dictation with autocorrection.
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me in this beautiful environment. I hope that my bad English is understandable enough. What I would like to do is to advise about a different use of Google Documents integrated features. So what do we need to do is shown in the next slide. For using this feature, we need to have a Google Classroom, we need to record a YouTube video, and we need to prepare a text in Google Docs. Let's see how to do it step by step. So step one is write your own story. So open a Google Documents and write your own story. In this example, I wrote the 3 little pigs. Very important, do not share this information with your students. This is intended for younger students, for younger pupils. Step 2, create video with the teacher dictating the text to the student, and then you can share this video over YouTube privately or with your students. Then step 3, the students will write down, then you share the video in the classroom. So as an assignment, you go in the classroom, classwork page, create assignment, and then put the assignment in, put the YouTube video into your assignment and ask the students to write down in a Google document what you read in the Google video. After that, you will receive all the works from the students. So in this example, I put some errors that one young student made, typing down what you read in the YouTube video. So imagine that you have 20, 25 students, so correcting these one by one would be an hard work. So there is a feature of Google Documents that will help you correcting all these works with a couple of clicks. So let's go on step 5. Step 5, you can use the feature that is called compare documents. So you go in the student work on tools menu and then choose compare documents. after you choose compare documents, you will see that you will choose between the original document and the document that you're using right now. The original document will be the docs that you prepared at step 1, the docs with the correct wording of your dictation. After that, next step is you will receive this message, comparison is ready. You click on open, and after that, you will see that the work of the student has been corrected. You see that the title is changed in the top left corner of the Google Docs. It's called comparison of, and then the name of the work of the students. You have 2 types of correction. You have marked correction directly into the text, and you have some comments in the right part of the documents that show each single step that has been automatically performed. If you want to change something from the automatic correction, means that, for example, instead of using an accent for Italian words, is very common, they use the apostrophe, you can do it. You can change something slightly, and then you can return the work to the student with the correct, with the correction that you've made. You just have to click on return in step 9 on the top right of your Google Documents, and the work is done. I hope I stayed in time, Angie. I tried to be as quick as I could.
You were awesome. I can't wait to check out using that dictation tool. Thanks so much for your time all the way from Italy. Thanks, we appreciate it.
Ciao.
So next up for our question in the chat, what NASA space mission was launched at 1313? What NASA space mission was launched? As we bring up Pilly here, add her in. Hi, Pilly.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Been waiting a bit.
I'm sorry, we are way behind. She is a 9th grade chemistry teacher born and raised in Monterrey, Mexico, studied to become a scientist, but teaches instead. She's a Google certified educator since 2017, trainer since 2019, and innovator since 2020. Loves to experiment with the way her classes are developed. So really quick, the answer to our question in our YouTube chat was Apollo 13. So Pilly, where are you presenting from today?
I'm going to talk about 2 apps that have recently made a difference in my class. You see, as we moved into online classes since March, I had to try to experiment stuff. So I realized that if I didn't do things more engaging, my kids would be like bored. So if we move forward, you will see that the 2 apps that I'm going to be talking about are GimKit and Mote. Now, I know GimKit is a paid-for tool, but they extended my trial because I wanted to try it since December, and I didn't want to use a 30-day trial and then have break fall in between. So they were kind enough to extend my trial, and I've been using it, and it's made a huge difference. So we're gonna go over to how I've been using it. I actually highly recommend it. It's paid for. So to engage students in reviews and stuff, GimKit has this option, Kit Collab, where the students are going to create the questions themselves. So this is what I did with them. I created there's like so many game ones, you can see it on the screen. I create a Kit Collab, I put that, and then they go into the game, and then they're going to be asked a little bit of their information and what questions would they ask. For instance, that one says, what is my name? And then, obviously, this is just an example. And then that's what appears to them. They're waiting for it. And for me, it appears the question, and I either add or reject it. When the student joins, I see their name, kind of like in a Kahoot. But also, when the student is adding questions, it changes color to green when they have added one. And then if they add a second one, it gives me a number of how many questions that student added. So it gave me the opportunity to say, each person needs to input at least 3 questions on a certain topic. And then once the questions are ready, we start the game. And for me, it appears like how like a waiting screen or something, and for them it gives them the questions and some templates, etc. So after that, you can have like a report where it would tell you how many questions they answered, how many were correct, what was like the percentage, so you can grade it, everything. So that was GimKit. In the case of Mote, I use it to personalize feedback, because the possibilities with Mote is that you can add private comments both when you're grading and beforehand in Classroom. You can also add comments in slides or sheets, etc. But also, now it gives you the possibility to record audio to put it inside of the slides, directly on slides. So if you're doing an activity where you're going to do it on slides and you want to leave them like the audio instructions, then you record it directly on slides, and then they can hear you tell them the instructions. So I think Mote is super useful for that. It's a free tool. It gives you about 30 seconds of a message if it's free. But if you pay for the different tiers, there's one that is unlimited, where it gives you up to 90 seconds to do that. They have added recently an option where you can record any voice note and paste it anywhere else, like a link. So that's something that they have improved. And it has grown tremendously since it started back last year. So I highly recommend those two. That is my contribution. I hope you like it.
Awesome. I cannot wait to try those. Thanks for sharing with us. We really appreciate your time.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. So over in our YouTube chat, if you could tell me about how many people are afraid of Friday the 13th. How many people are afraid of Friday the 13th? Abid, we have you coming up here. Shortcuts to change your life. And by the way, there are approximately, oops, I'm clicking on the wrong screen. There are approximately 17 to 21 million people in the US that are affected by the fear of Friday the 13th and cannot go about their daily duties. How crazy is that? All right, Abid. Abid comes to us all the way from London in the UK. He has a super long list of a bio here, but he is the IT director for the Leading Learning Trust in London. Take it away, Abid.
Thank you very much, Angie. Yes, thanks everyone for joining today. It's been a great session so far. Lots of great tips and tricks. That's me. Once we share this slide deck out, you can follow me on Twitter and all the socials there, and feel free to get in touch. Angie, shall we move on to the next slide? So I'm going to show you some quick fire shortcuts to help you change your life. And these are very quick fire. I know we're running late, so I'll go straight through, but we'll take a look at emojis. Everyone loves emojis. We'll have a look at quick screenshots, how to take charge of your copy and paste, Clipboard History, which has really changed my life. And then we'll look at a few Chrome shortcuts as well. Next slide, please. So emojis, everyone loves emojis. You can always go to emojipedia.org and you can copy and paste emojis from there, but you've got them right built in your keyboard. So on a Mac, you simply press Control, Command, and Space, and that will bring you the emoji keyboard. And on Windows 10, if you're using a Windows 10 device, just press the Windows key and period, or full stop as we call it here in the UK, and that will bring up the little pop-up window for emojis on Windows 10. And if you're using a Chromebook, just right click in any text box and you've got an option for emoji there, or you can always use the on-screen keyboard. And once you get the slides, you'll be able to click that link there to see how you can get that. Next slide. So quick screenshots. So if you're using a Mac, there are many ways to take a screenshot. You can use Command Shift and 3. That will take a screenshot of your entire window. Or you can use Command Shift and 4, which will allow you to select. It'll give you a selection box and you can select that. You can use Command Shift and 4 and then the space bar, and that will allow you to take just a screenshot of the menus or the menu bar at the top. And then also one that I haven't put on there is Command Shift and 5, which will give you a nice window, a square window, and will capture anything within that window. And it'll also give you a bar at the bottom. And then on that bar at the bottom, you'll also be able to select whether you want to record a video as opposed to just a still image screenshot. But that's how you take screenshots on a Mac. Next slide, please. So quick screenshots on Windows 10. Simply put, Command Shift and the Windows key Shift and S will bring up a little selection box you can select, and then that will pop up the Snip and Sketch app that is now built into Windows 10. You might get a little notification in the notification bar at the bottom right. You can click on that, and then you can then manipulate that screenshot. You can copy it, you can add, you can write over it, scribble over it, you can do a few funky things there. But that's a great little tool for screenshots on Windows 10. Next screen, please. And so screenshots on Chrome OS, if you're taking a full screenshot, it's Control and Show All Windows. I didn't know that button was called Show All Windows, but I do now. And then if you want to take a partial screenshot, it's Control Alt and Show All Windows. And again, you'll be able to just select something, and then that will download into your files folder. Next slide. So take charge of your copy and paste. This is something that used to hit me all the time when you copy and pasting from somewhere and then paste it into a Google Doc or a Word document or a PowerPoint or a Google slide. It always used to copy over the formatting from the other document and really mess up the way I was trying to format my own document. But as we all know, Control A will select all, Control C, copy, and then the regular Control V just does regular paste, and that will paste everything with the formatting from where you're copying it from. But if you want it to match the formatting of your own document, Control Shift and V on a Windows 10 device or a Chrome device, or Command Shift and V on a Mac device, and that will paste the information with your formatting for the document you're currently working on. And a quick fire tip as well, if you want to copy and paste something, especially in a Google slide, don't Control C and Control V. You can just do a Control D or a Command D, and that does a duplicate. So it will duplicate everything that you copy straight away, and it's just one less click to help you save your time. Next slide. Clipboard History. I loved this one as soon as Microsoft brought it in to Windows 10. So when you're pasting something, normally you can use Control V, but if you use Windows and V, you can see there it gives you a whole history of everything that you've copied, and it's so handy to copy multiple stuff that you want to put maybe into one document, and then you can put it in, and then you're then ready to go. So it's really useful. Just the Windows key and V. It's coming very soon to Chrome OS. Chrome OS version 88 released today, I think. Or it might be coming very soon in the next coming days. There's a link there to activate it if you want. And then if you're using a Mac device, you can check out the Copy M app on the App Store, where you can also get similar features. Next slide, please. So that's just some information on how to do that. This is something that Stephanie told me to put in. I know a lot of teachers complain about children quickly closing a tab and don't know what they closed. So if you want to know how to quickly close a tab, it's Control and W. And if you want to quickly know how to reopen the last tab that was closed, it's Control Shift and T. Or if you're using a Mac, just replace the Control with Command. So Command Shift and T. But that's how to quickly reopen tabs. Next slide, please. And there you go, just showing there the Command Shift and T for Mac. Next slide. And here are two great infographics that have been created by Candace Buchanan. She's really great. Do follow her on Twitter. Congratulations to her for just becoming a Google Certified Trainer yesterday. But some quick, really interesting screenshots on this slide and on the next slide. But that's pretty much it from me.
Thanks, Avid, for all those time-saving shortcuts. Those are always so much fun. All right, so over in our YouTube chat, tell me, who is I already brought up the answer. Who is the 13th Greek god and the most powerful Greek god? as we bring up Will here.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Will. How are you? We are running behind. I'm so sorry.
Not a problem.
So, Will comes to us from, I believe, New York City.
That's right, Brooklyn.
Awesome. We so appreciate you joining us. He is coming, we're elementary music teacher from Brooklyn, New York, teaching modern band, chorus, recorder, general music, and African drumming over 14 years in the New York City public school system. So go ahead and talk to us about sharing musical lessons in the middle of a pandemic.
Yes. Well, thank you again, Angie, and having a great time so far. This is a wonderful conference. I had so much fun during the quarantine, having to brainstorm ideas and find new ways to engage my students and to be able to encourage them and teach them, which led me to create a YouTube channel, Mr. Mosley, the Music Teacher. So today I'm going to walk you guys through a few programs that I use to create one of my most popular virtual music lessons. Next slide, please. So let's start by showing you one of the videos, and then we'll walk you through the steps. You can play it for a minute. Thanks. We're not hearing the volume, Angie. Sorry. Still no volume, Angie. Sorry. So we could come back to it if it's giving us problems. Okay, we can look at next slide. Well, one of the tools that I use is Canva. I used it to create the cover art on the video, and I also threw out many other parts of the video. Canva is a wonderful tool. It's a free graphic design platform that turns the average Joe or average Will into a world-class designer. You can create wonderful images and backgrounds and graphics and presentations without needing to be an expert in graphic design. It's very, very user-friendly. I use Canva all the time. It's very, very useful. Next slide, please. TikTok to the rescue. TikTok, well, as everybody knows, the name of the game while teaching remotely is to keep the students engaged and keep their attention. So at times can be very, very challenging. The students have a lot of distractions while they're at home. So one thing I found out that I can use a tool that students love, which is TikTok, and use it as a learning tool. TikTok is so cool, interactive filters that are available, like the puppy filter that you see here, green screen technology that's also available, many different things, the options, that filters that the kids really, really enjoy and keep the kids engaged while we're teaching lessons throughout the day and throughout the year. Next slide, please. GarageBand really does rock. I use GarageBand to create all the audio tracks for my the videos, which includes many different instruments like strings, piano, drums, and the vocals as well. GarageBand is another Apple tool that I use. Sorry, I was PC users. I use a lot of Mac in my videos to teach my students. It's very, very friendly for users and so many different options that are available. So being a musician is helpful, but it's not inventory while using it, and it's very user friendly as well. Next slide, please. Lights, camera, iMovie, action. Here is where I put everything together for the videos, from the graphic designs from Canva, the funny videos in TikTok, the audio tracks from a GarageBand, and I put everything together. As you can see, there's many options regarding split screen you can use to incorporate. So here you see what I did. I recorded myself using the TikTok video and also using the original track that I put them together in iMovie. So it's a wonderful tool that is very user friendly. Use it all the time. So that's about it. You can reach out to me on Mr. Mosley, the Music Teacher, on Instagram, also on my YouTube channel. So, sorry about the video didn't work. We had some issues with the video, Angie, but.
Oh, we did. I'm sorry about that. I could hear it on my end, but evidently we could not. I apologize for that.
Not a problem.
Make sure you follow Will on YouTube. He has some amazing music videos that I know you and your students will all love. Thanks, Will, for joining us.
Thanks, Angie. Take care.
Thank you. I'm going to skip through the next set of questions. You guys can take a look at those later. Melissa is joining us here. Let me bring you up. Melissa's joining us from her school. Sorry, lost my notes. All right, Melissa, tell us all about yourself and get us going.
All right, so I'm a teacher at Pickerington Elementary. It's my 20th year in education. I've been at Pickerington School since 2006. So as we know, school has been different lately. One of the biggest challenges is that we can't bring families into the building for reading nights and stations as we've always done. So we still wanted to offer literacy resources and activities for families. So we designed self-paced presentations through Google Slides. And I think the links are in the chat from our reading boot camp and our family reading nights. So you can look through those as examples. So go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So here are the steps if you want to make your own virtual reading night. So the first thing we did was that we chose a theme and we set the dates for our event. And then you want to use Google Slides as your foundation, but don't reinvent the wheel. As we've said earlier, there are plenty of resources already out there that have been created, such as Kahoot quizzes, Wonderopolis articles, YouTube read alouds, things that are connected to your theme that you've chosen. Next slide. The next step is to make sure all of the items are linked into your Google slide, and you want families to be able to access your presentation. So you want to go to File in Google Slides and then Publish to the web. That will make all of the links and activities accessible to families outside of your school domain. And then number 4, you want to make sure you have a Google form to use as your exit ticket to measure participation. So you can set up your responses using a form notification add-on, so you get an email after every response or after a certain number of responses. You can track if your students are completing the activities. All right, next slide. All right, so our final tip is to offer some sort of door prize for participating. So you can track those responses from the exit ticket, put them in a random name generator like wheelofnames.com. It's what we have used. And we gave away swag bags, such as books and reading games and activities. If you have enough items, you give away more than one prize. So if there aren't any questions, or if you do have questions, I have a survey you can fill out with your feedback. You can reach out to me on Twitter. All right, thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, Melissa. Sorry, everyone, for running so far behind. I so appreciate your time as we go through our last set of tips. Kyle here is joining us from Fairfield. Oops, I took him off. Joining us here from Fairfield Elementary, and he's going to tell us about his virtual student engagement.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for staying on so long, and thanks, Angie, for having me. Yeah, so this year being as crazy as it is, this is my 10th year teaching, and just kind of got through into a virtual setting, and nothing about my background in any way qualified me for virtual education. So we're all kind of learning as we go. The point there is that anyone has the ability to be an amazing virtual teacher, just with the right mindset and trying new things. So next slide.
Oops.
So the next 2 slides have down what I feel like are some pretty generic, basic tips that I've kind of learned throughout the process and feeling out process of becoming a virtual teacher this year to increase student engagement, both in Google Meets for online instruction and for your lesson engagement. The first tool or first tip that I have just for increasing student engagement is that it doesn't require you to recreate the wheel. It's all about taking what you know to do in a physical setting and tweaking it in order to make it meet your virtual needs. Breaking down lessons are things that we do all the time, but it's incredibly important for a virtual setting. In addition to normal distractions that we're used to dealing with in school, now you have to account for those home life distractions like pets and siblings and parents working in the background. The best way to deal with these distractions, especially for the young ones, is to really chunk your lessons down. I try to stick to 30 minutes or less to deliver new content. The second is, we use Google Meets, and breakout rooms have been a relatively new addition to to Google Meets, and they are fantastic. Breakout rooms is a great way to get students engaged in small groups or even partner discussion, and it provides a much needed break from that monotony of those daily small group lessons that you run. Number three, feeling valued is motivated. Of all the ways to increase student engagement, feeling valued has to be at the top. Learning virtually can put a strain on making those social connections students develop with their classmates and with you a little bit more difficult. But just with some ingenuity and creativity, really spending time and making it a priority to get to know your students, you can get some serious value back. And when they know you care, they're never going to want to miss a class again. And that's half the battle, making sure that you get them motivated to show up on their own, right? Next slide. And setting goals and establishing norms has to be probably the hardest part, especially in the beginning part of the year. We're taking students who have never learned in a virtual setting, and we're trying to recreate our expectations, our classroom expectations, but in a home environment. So it's critical for any successful year, regardless of your setting. You have to get students to understand that what we are doing hasn't changed, only the environment has. And student engagement increases when students buy into a routine that you give them, and that's adopted for your classroom rules. And using tech to your advantage. This kind of goes without saying, but teaching virtually gives you a wide array of tools to use, tools that you don't even know are there. So really take some time, play around with different websites and tools to see which ones you like, which ones kind of match your teaching style, which can provide new and engaging ways for students to interact with your material. And one of the last ones is, being yourself. It's highly understated, but you get better engagement from students when they know that they're valued, and fostering connections is critical, and it encompasses more than just your student. In a virtual setting, it encompasses the whole family. And so spend that time, get to know who they are, not only as individuals, but who they are as members of their family, because you're not just teaching them in a virtual setting, you're teaching the whole family. You get the whole package when you teach virtually. And being yourself, teachers wear many hats all the time, and we are some of the greatest actors on the planet. But never forget that as much as you like being a teacher, love being yourself more, and allow your students to get to know who you are, not only as a teacher, but as a person. When you allow your students to make those connections with you on a more personal level, it just adds that note of, making things a lot more genuine connections with your students. And they trust you a lot more. I've noticed that once I really started opening up and I've included myself who I am as a person to my students, then I really started to notice a lot more engagement and feedback and positive vibes throughout my day. Next slide, please. So going back to how to actually get better engagement with some tools, some Google Meet engagement extensions that I think are an absolute must. Number one, I think we know all about already is Google Meet Grid View. With it being standard, without the grid view, you can't even see all of your students. So make sure you get this grid view so you can actually see all of them at one time. And another extension I really like is called Nod. It's a nonverbal way for students to interact with your Google Meet lessons. So it's always a good idea to have students on mute, but that doesn't mean that they still can't interact with you to show their understanding and you can use it a lot like checkpoints to make sure that they are still with you and not just zoned off. So definitely take a look at Nod. It's very simple. You have a lot of basic emojis that students can throw up with, thumbs up, thumbs down. They have a question emoji, which is really nice, especially when it was before Google added that raise hand feature to their meets. Next slide. This slide is just all about that extra, right? And being a virtual teacher is all about bringing that extra. And so, not only are you going to be teaching those lessons and bringing that content, but you've got to bring the fun. You've got to make it engaging, make students want to show up, right? So this list offers just a snapshot of some of the things that you can do to engage your students. And make no mistake, these things will force you to step out of your comfort zone as an educator. Being completely honest with you, I never thought I would ever do yoga, let alone with 25 kids in a Google Meet, but I have. And it was great, and I've been made a better teacher for it. So the biggest aspects missing from these students' normal educational experiences are the social ones. And when learning virtually, whether by choice or not, there's a sense of isolation there. Meeting students' social and emotional needs should always be most important. This pandemic has made meeting these needs essential. And when you do simple activities like this, like bringing the fun, it offers brief moments where students can just be a student and not, be themselves and not have to wear that math hat or that language arts hat, and can interact with each other and kind of fill that social void. So I believe that's it for me.
Thanks, Kyle. So appreciate your sharing what you're doing with your virtual classroom.
You're welcome.
To hear more as the year goes on. All right, so our next presenter actually had to leave, so I apologize. Jude was not able to join us to talk about her Seesaw blogs, but these will be in our slides, so feel free to jump in and check them out later. Let's see, the other thing, I'm gonna go clear to the end. Thank you so much, Abed, for helping me. Thank you to all our presenters. This has been amazing. I can't wait to try all these new tech tips and tricks. And also, here's my favorite part. There's a couple bonus slides at the end here. Check those out. But we have a winner, not quite a chicken dinner, but sorry on my. So our winner was our 13th poster on our Google chat. Or not our Google chat, on our YouTube chat, is Jamie Doan from Tollgate Middle School. She will be getting a dozen donuts, but make sure it's a baker's dozen donuts. We'll be delivering those later this week to her at Tollgate Middle School. Thanks everyone for joining us. The slides will be available here at this bit.ly, and we will also post them on the Pickerington Innovation Conference website. Don't forget to join us for the afternoon sessions. Have a great day, everyone.